So I am David. I'm the executive director of the Technology Integrity Council, the nonprofit that educates and innovates for the ethical and effective use of new technology, including AI, but not just AI. I'm also the author of a book that's forthcoming about the role of the Chief AI Officer. I also serve as the president of TM Technologies, the pioneer in low probability of intercept radio communications. I have a lot of time to do things since my kids left for college. We are so privileged today. You guys can come on up now. To have with us for our panel discussion on navigating the future of AI in government, we are so privileged to have Vinay Singh and Bianca Lochner here with us. These are the folks that are leading the charge in both federal and state and local AI leadership. And I'm really interested, we're so particularly privileged because we'll get to hear not just about state and local and federal, but maybe also about the delicate dance that happens between the two, because after all, they don't exist in silos. So I have also here the questions that you may submit if you're logged into Whova. With any luck, by the end of the session, your questions will repopulate on my screen, and we'll try and get a few of them in before we break for our networking break. So let's start with Vinay. If you wouldn't mind, please introducing yourself and telling us about your journey into leadership. I think it's an unusual journey coming through SBA and KPMG and so forth. And as the CFO and CAIO over at the Department of, at HUD, I think your journey is quite unusual. And then Bianca Lochner.
Sure, thank you. Good morning. Is it still morning? Yes. So I have a whole presentation I do typically to university students when I go on my public service recruiting. It's called The Zigzag Life. I'll just give you a synopsis. I mean, I started out, actually my first degree was in marketing and bachelor's in marketing, never used it for about 30 years, and now that's all I do is use it, but I'll come back to how that transcended. But then I went back, I'm a numbers guy, got my accounting degree, started that realm, got wrapped up into that. And, you know, at the time I was in this field as a staff accountant, senior accountant, financial analyst, all the ERP implementations were going on. So for those that remember, the Oracle, the SAP, financials, all that was happening. So I was always the accountant. I didn't have a formal training in technology, but I was not afraid of it. I was privileged enough that my dad gave me a computer in the teens, and so I was, would poke around with it. So I'd raise my hand, volunteer for these ERP transformations, and within a year I would also get laid off because this was intended to get rid of some accountants, right? So from that, essentially, I got into this circle of always being involved in restructuring, so still finance, et cetera, but then moved into technology when I was at Discovery Channel, became an auditor, technology auditor, so picked up a CISA after the CPA and PMP and all that. So, the thread that runs through is kind of this organizational aspect, but, with technology at the forefront of financial transformation. So about 18 months ago, as CFO, I've been at HUD a little bit over 2 years now, I saw that technology, you all know this, in government especially, and technology and procurement is difficult. It's multi-year, it's politically charged at times, projects fail, and at HUD it was no different. And HUD has a very minuscule percentage of technology budget for the over $75 billion that we deploy every year. And so it was a challenge just for any new technology, let alone foundational. So anyway, long story short, I sat with Beth Nieblock, who was the CIO at the time, and said, hey, I'm looking at using potential, this AI hype was there, the buzz was there, I know it's been around for 50, 60 years. I'm thinking about using it for the financial transformation projects we have, just to explore it. And obviously it's going to run through the CIO shop, I just wanted to get your blessing. So she and I had some workshops, saw some potential, she said, sure, go ahead. not knowing that the executive order was coming about 6 months later. So at the time, what I saw was, and Kate Darling, who's my assistant CFO of systems, ran that team, and there was a working group of volunteers that swelled to over 35 people. So I was like, wow, okay, so public service, recruitment, retention, real big issues, people are gravitating towards this. This is a great piece. Anyway, so then the EO came out. The secretary and deputy secretary were talking to Beth, as most AI officers are, either CTOs, CIOs, or CDOs. And Beth said, well, you should actually talk to Vinay because he already has a team that started this journey. Maybe he can just continue it. So, with that, I took it on. And so this last 12 months, I think the EO anniversary is tomorrow, October 30th, basically just building a foundation. So that's kind of the overall journey.
Fantastic. And as far as you know, are you the only CAIO also wearing the hat of CFO among the federal agencies?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Intriguing. So, Bianca, thank you so much for flying in all the way from Scottsdale, Arizona, out there in Maricopa County. Tell us about your journey.
Yes, no, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here and share some insights from Scottsdale with all of you. So I started my career in public service. I'm really passionate about the difference that technology can make for our communities. I started 20 plus years ago in education, and more recently the CIO for a city. So Scottsdale, I'm sure many of you have visited or have heard of Scottsdale. We are very known for our beautiful landscape, for the experiences that Scottsdale has to offer. We welcome 11 million visitors yearly, and we are known for being very innovative. I've been with the city as a CIO for the last 3 years. In the last 2 years, we've been recognized as the #1 digital city by the Center for Digital Government. So that's quite an honor, but also a testimony of the leadership, being so progressive and really for thinking of how we can align our digital strategy with the needs within our community. So I think what helps us be very successful is the fact that we have several principles we really that govern everything we do. So first of all, we want to solve the problems in the community with the community, right? So we engage them to make sure that all the decisions really impact them in a positive way. And then we are very collaborative. So collaboration internally within our cross departments. We have almost 40 departments that really deliver 500 plus services on a daily basis. And then also collaboration with and partnerships with other state, local, and federal entities. And of course with our partners, vendor partners, because we cannot do it alone, and this is where majority of innovation happens, and we need to, again, make sure that we stay engaged with them when we're able to experiment and leverage what the market has to offer.
Thank you. Let's talk about the question of where leadership resides in the organization. When an organization understands that it needs to rise to the challenge of embracing the opportunity and addressing the risk of AI, they have to figure out, okay, where is this going to be in the org chart? Give us the view of how federal agencies are looking at that, and also state and local government.
Well, at federal, as was said, I think every AI officer is either a CTO, a CDO, chief data officer, chief tech officer, or chief information officer, and that's fine. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit biased as a CFO. Many of you probably know, in most organizations, profit, for-profit, public, private, CFOs are starting to become kind of the number 2 in the organization, only because, and I don't say that from just like, oh wow, you're almost number 1. It's more because they're involved. The CFO function is so intimately involved in the entire construct. So whether it be auditing from a federal government, I can say, the audits, the financial statements, the challenges, even whether it is a CIO challenge or a procurement challenge, a lot of that goes through there. So we have that capability. And I think also when you understand the business, it was just said, Bianca mentioned that, what is the problem we're trying to solve? CFOs typically have that from that audit lens. It's not just a financial statement. So I'm biased. I think that it can be anything. It doesn't need to be a tech specific, but that tech person should definitely understand the business and have great relationships to be able to move. I talked about why marketing. I just told the new president at the college I graduated, marketing, York College in Pennsylvania, that I never used it for about 35 years. I'm using it now because in the leadership role, this is all about persuasion. This is all about alliances. This is all about moving. It's change management, right? And so change management is essentially organizational behavior, which is the backbone of marketing.
So in Scottsdale, we have this, again, vision that innovation doesn't happen within one department or within one person. So that's why we don't have a role of Chief Innovation Officer or Chief AI Officer, because the expectation is that everybody contributes. So we have a structure where everybody can feel empowered and come, and we have funding to pilot and test things. And then from me as a CIO, I feel that the way our reporting structure is currently in place really is very helpful, because I report to the city managers, who's our CEO, who then is accountable to city council. But with that, it really gives technology stability, right? We can really move past the political wave, right? Now every 2 years we'll have new council members coming on board. Every 4 years we might have a new mayor. So those agendas can fluctuate, but our city priorities kind of are in place long term because we have this reporting structure. So again, going back to what are the business priorities, our IT strategy is always aligned to that, right? We review our IT strategy, making sure that we still stay on top of current trends and those business needs. But we have the long-term vision on where the city needs to be, and that might, fluctuate a little bit with who's coming in, but at the same time, we really understand, right, what we need to deliver, and AI is part of that. So we treat AI as any other innovation, and has to be, again, part of that strategy, has to be governed, and everybody has input and sort of buy-in, and needs to feel empowered to leverage.
Vinay, would you agree about the innovative, the need for the cognitive modalities of the person in the role to be someone who is innovative and entrepreneurial?
Yeah, I think all those skills are required, but as Bianca was saying, it is an all-in effort, right? And so you need a person who just has the skills to be able to, bring cohesiveness and also solve problems that are just organizational. From a federal government standpoint, the fact that, every agency or CFO Act agency needs to name this AI officer, think about that for a second, stepping back. If you're even a private organization, introducing a new C-suite person at the table. When I was a partner at KPMG, all these big fours, it's a bunch of sharks, right? Like you're in there, you got to fight for what you win, all that stuff, right? So even C-suite roles, these guys, everyone is looking at this like, what are they going to do? What decisions are this person going to make? So they will fight that. So you have to come in with a personality of engaging, empathetic, understanding, listening. Those are the qualities. So whatever your title is or role is, I just think that that's where you need to be. If you're a technologist and you know AI and you're a data scientist, that's obviously great too. But those are skill sets that you need to lean on in a team. The leadership is, because this is so new, that construct of pushing through is critical.
So in the interest of time, I'm going to skip over your definition of risk, and I'm going to take it for granted that you have well in hand the ways of measuring the level of confidence of AI outputs and that sort of thing, and the tools, some of which are on display in our expo area here. Maybell is one of the companies that I saw that does this. I want to skip right to your narratives about AI in action and the whole dichotomy between risk and reward, or return on investment, return on AI. What is your take on the dividend side of the equation?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, simply put, I talk about this everywhere from a federal government, again, or local, state, tribal governments. Our mandates are different, right? At HUD, our mission is creating strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and quality, affordable homes for all. This is taxpayer money serving the underserved. So it's all about protecting the mission. So when we talk about risk, I start there. And you say, how do we protect our mission? Because folks that are going to use our money, all the layers in the ecosystem, may also use AI. So we need to learn it. So that AI literacy is still continues to be critical in understanding. Then there's the amplification of the mission, which is then the benefit, and typically is called, what is that return on investment? I just shape that to call it return on experience, because really that's what governments are intended to do, is change the citizen experience.
Return on experience, I like that. Bianca, what is your experience?
Yeah, I think the risk of not doing is greater than pursuing it. I think if you're in a private world, you have to think about the expectations and then the ROIs and all that. But when it comes to public service, you have to think about back to the mission, right? So in Scottsdale, our mission is simply better service for world-class community. So with that, making sure that we leverage AI for resident engagement, but also internally for increased efficiencies, optimization of resources, funding, and everything that comes with that as well. But really, the risk of not pursuing it. So there are many cities that are stopping especially when it comes to Gen AI. They're not very much risk averse. But for us, we're thinking in terms of business feasibility and technological capabilities, right? Can we really adopt a specific AI innovation? Do we have a way to sustain it, right? Once it's past the pilot stage, and then going back to what are those priorities, right? So for us, when it comes to resident engagement, maybe a chatbot, automating water conservation efforts. At the same time, being able to govern that, I think that's also critical for us. And then comes to risk, because if not, you'll have shadow AI. Your employees, your users are going to use it regardless if you allow them or not. So it's better to be very much proactive and really support them and again empower them with that.
Thank you. And this panel wouldn't be complete without a short discussion of the future landscape. This is about the future. What are you not doing right now that you envision in the future?
I mean, specifically for HUD and many agencies that are not security or defense agencies that have lower tech spend, a lot of the funding we're looking for is in governments are 2-year cycles. So FY26, a lot of agencies have planned for things there. Given this 1 year that we've just hit, for me, the focus has been with the team, just building and maintaining, sustaining this foundation of, if you have an AI idea, here's where you go. If you have a concern, here's what you do. I mean, just creating that new organization is critical. Getting some right folks to have a bridge between now and the bigger investments to come. But the future will hold things. I mean, we have to obviously always worry about and manage and mitigate against bias, discrimination, make sure there's equity in how our funding goes out. But obviously, I mean, yesterday I was just on a call, and there's all these great cities that I follow, because I think a lot of this, as Bianca said, is all in, like local, state, federal working together. But looking at advanced chatbots from a customer service point of view, Buenos Aires is doing that. Transcription, translation, San Jose is doing that. Road and traffic, Chattanooga is doing that. Identification of evictions for the risk of folks that are homeless. Los Angeles, and another big one is disaster preparedness, which HUD participates in a lot with FEMA and SBA. And so Virginia Beach is doing some work there. So these are all things to come, but how it actually plays out is going to require folks to be working together as we develop this, because it's too risky to just kind of test something out and just say we're going to do this, right? It's just.
Bianca, you want to bring us home with your description of the future landscape in state and local?
Yes. So first, all those use cases, we have all of them already in place in Scottsdale, either in pilot stage or now expanding past. So I mentioned the citizen engagement piece, so the chat agents, and expanding that to all our call centers, making sure that we understand the resident sentiments when it comes to the services we offer, what kind of services we should consider that we're not offering currently, and then internally empowering our employees, so kind of the employee co-pilot, making sure that they have access to all knowledge base, but also from an employee perspective in understanding what their benefits are, understanding where they can leverage support internally, and then Scottsdale is also part of the new GOV AI coalition of 400 plus cities that are really looking to, make sure that we have this partnership in place, that we are part of the solution when it comes to policy development, that we again work together and become stronger and expand, include others that we need to be included. So definitely that the partnership piece is so important, and having a voice when it comes to larger regulation.
All right. Thank you. I'm sorry we didn't get to questions, but we're going into a networking break now, and we might have a couple minutes in person too if you have any questions. So let's give thanks to our panelists.